And so we just killing one another. Save house. Think about that. And it's not like we can't do it. It's not like we can't do it. One young woman, I won't be long, y'all. I want to go back down this list of in the last days. One young woman come in here one Sunday morning off the street. Never been in this building. Came down front, sat on that front pew. And we discovered that she was not a member. I took her to the office and I preached Christ to her. She said, sir, there's no need of me being baptized because I dance for a living. I'm an exotic dancer. I take my clothes off for a living. This real talk here, y'all. I know some of y'all can't, you know. But I thought Jesus sent us to save the world, not just some folk. She says, I dance for a living. And we know that people like that can't always immediately integrate into this kind of setting. But we can help her. And she says, I dance for a living. There's no sense in me getting baptized, but I baptized anyway. And I tried to hold on to her. We went out to lunch a couple of times. She said, look, she said, this is the only way I know how to live. I said, what else do you like to do? I like child care. But we didn't have anything for her. And shouldn't the church position itself to have something for everybody who comes through that door? If the church can't help folk, who can? And who knows? When people walk through this door and they are introduced to Christ, I'm just silly enough to believe that's one that he sent us. We just didn't know what to do with her. The same way we don't know what to do with a lot of money. If we get a lot of money, never had a lot of money, the first thing we do is what? Spin it up. We don't know what to do with it. And we don't know what to do with people like that. Because most of the folk that we baptize and most of the people that are converted, they come in, they got jobs, they got everything. Might have a few issues, but they not walking the street selling their body. What do you do for folk like that? Well, just don't do anything at all. And I know we're not in agreement to that. So I'm saying we need to be more aggressive with our ministries. You know, I was just going to give her a card and a little piece of money. That's all I could do. Because we don't have any resources. We have nothing for folk like that who are walking on the periphery of the precipice of the periphery, and about to fall off. But when you notice the life of Jesus Christ, he never turned anybody away who came to him honestly. Everything I asked that little girl, I said, you're prostituting? Yes. Are you on drugs? Yes. Do you have a pimp? No. It was almost like she couldn't lie to me. In other words, this street-walking woman had some honesty in her. You see what I'm saying? There was some honesty in her. And every soul has some good in it. But we have to love people to the extent that we look for the good. Not just look down the nose, oh, that's a prostitute. Yeah. But for the grace of God, there go you. Without natural affection. Truth breakers can't keep their word. False accusers. Incontinent, which means without strength in the last days. Fierce, means they are savage. The same kind of savagery that we're hearing about every night on the 6 o'clock news, how folk are getting mowed down. Fierce, last days. Despisers of those that are good. Despisers mean not friendly to the good. In other words, they'll laugh in your face, but they'll stab you in your back. Despisers, not friendly to the good, they will laugh with you, but the first chance they get to get an advantage of it, they'll laugh at you. Despisers. Traitors. Heady. High-minded. Lovers of pleasure. More than lovers of God. And so this is in the last days. You'll see this stuff because you see it in men right now. You don't have to look to tomorrow to see it. It's in men today. John said they're having Paul rather said they have a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, he said, from such turn away. There are some folk you have to separate yourself from. John said these are the last days. And then he said this. He said, even now, he said, little children, it is the last time, and as you have heard that the Antichrist, singular, shall come. The Antichrist. As ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, singular. That's part A. But in part B, he uses Antichrist, plural. He says, even now are there many what? Antichrist. And Antichrist is someone who works in opposition to Jesus. Muslims, Antichrist. Are you listening to me? Buddhists, Antichrist. And any religion that denies the existence and the incarnation of Jesus Christ, Antichrist, whoever they might be. John said, even now they out here. You got some folk. I had a boy one day in my office not too long ago, a couple of months ago. A member came in and said, Brother Keith, would you marry us? I said, now, let me see what he believes. I know what you believe. And I asked him, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? Well, I think all of us are children of God. He was all over the place with his little pseudo-theological perspective. When I finished with him, I discovered, I said, girl, I ain't going to marry this man. I'm not going to perform no ceremony, and you ought not marry him. You're going to marry somebody to be unequally yoked, don't even believe in God at all. But folk are so desperate now, and they'll marry a joker just because he got a good job. Don't care about Jesus. He got a good job, and he got good game because he done brainwashed you. Y'all can't stand too much of this here. Antichrist should come. Antichrist already here now. The Antichrist is an opponent of Jesus. He said now in 2 John 7, this is what the apostle said. For many deceivers have gone out into the world. Those who do not confess the coming of Jesus Christ in the flesh, such a one is a deceiver and Antichrist. Y'all see that in your Bible? You can't confess that Jesus is Lord, you Antichrist. But look what John said. He said they went out from us. What that means is it looks like they were with the disciples at first, but they were not fully converted. Because if you were converted to Christ, you will never leave the church. You got some folk halfway converted, and the first time something happens they don't like, they gone. Skittish. Amen. It's like a little squirrel on the ground. You see a little squirrel out there eating and whatnot, and then when you step outside, hear a little noise, what's happening? He's gone. And that's how some church folk are. But John said they went out from us, but he said they were not of us, which means their belief system and their faith in Jesus Christ and the doctrine differed from that of the disciples and others. They went out from us, and then it said, for if they had been of us, if they had been solid, if they had been stable, or if their doctrine was right, they would no doubt have continued what? With us. But there was something about the doctrine they didn't like, and they left, and they had just enough Bible to go out and do some damage. You ever seen anybody like that? They know just enough doctrine, just enough Bible, could quote just enough scripture to go out and make a mess out of somebody's life. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would not have left us. Huh? But they went out. And the reason John said they went out, look at this now, that it might be made manifest who they really were. They went out, and so now it's understood, and it has manifest. Oh, that's who they are. We see them now. But when they were in the mix of the disciples and the apostles, they went in there and camouflaged themselves where they couldn't be seen. But when they went out, we could clearly see them because they're preaching a different doctrine. They're seeing different things. They live in a different way. They went out from us, but they were not of us. Y'all know some folk like that, don't you? We all know some people who were members of the Church of Christ, and they went cross town to the denominational church. They went out where? From us, but they were not. Because if you're of us, you'll sit still long enough to learn some things. You got some folk come in, they're real antsy, and they're anxious, and they want to do everything. They want to preach and do everything. We had a young lady some years ago, we baptized this woman. She was full of zeal. Oh, she wanted to do some ministry. I wanted her to do some ministry, but she couldn't be still long enough to learn the doctrine. Listen, ma'am, learn the doctrine, get solid, make sure your foundation is right, make sure you know what you're talking about, then you go out and do some ministry. But we can't endorse this program you're talking about now because you are a new convert. So she was of us and with us, but she went out from us. Antichrist. Last days. Antichrist shall come even now. He said they're already here. Antichrist from the Greek word antichristos, an opponent of Jesus. These so-called Gnostics who deny the incarnation of Jesus Christ is the subject of John's talk. They are and were operating then, and antichrists are operating now in these last times. Could mean the end of the Jewish economy, and it has been. It could mean very well the end of the temple worship or the end of the world. And it looks like when John said this, he was talking about the end of Jerusalem, because when you go back and read Paul's letter, 2 Timothy chapter 3, where perilous times shall come, that letter was written around AD 65. So that letter about perilous times coming was written before the fall of Jerusalem. This letter was written perhaps around the same time, so they are talking about, both Paul and John, about the downfall of the Jewish economy and way of life and way of worship, because once the Romans came in and took over Jerusalem, they took over the Jews. And the temple was burned to the ground. And guess what? It's not been another temple since then. And these two women the other day said, well, we Jews. We believe in the Messiah is on the way. He ain't come yet. That's what they told me. I said, well, what about the prophecies? What about Isaiah's prophecy? And Daniel's prophecy? Jeremiah's prophecy? The prophecy in Genesis 3 and 15. What about those prophecies? Well, I got to go. Listen, y'all. There are not many people who really know their Bible, because it takes time and discipline and energy to read, to exegete, to help yourself understand. And if all you got in your library is a Bible, you're going to be working slow. You can read it, but you need some other tools to help you. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. Jesus said in Matthew 24 and 24, there shall arise false prophets and false Christ. And so we have to be aware of those things. John in this passage seems to be saying, get ready to run.